Hello, Otafest listeners, and welcome back to the podcast. I'm Jay, and today I'm joined by our lovely friends Angelo and Nancy.
Jay's my friend. This is the best news all week.
I know.
You're welcome.
It's official. We're besties.
I've upgraded you in the book from mere acquaintance to friend.
I'm finally written down in Jay's book of friends.
Oh my
Yes.
God.
I did it before the Zuckerberg. I just didn't publicize it, so I'm not as rich.
Well, I'm pretty sure some old yokai hunters have been doing it for generations. Just saying.
Well, then. Maybe I'm a
see what you
yokai
did
hunter.
there.
Maybe.
Yeah, I wouldn't be too surprised.
Before we get too ahead of ourselves here, we are very excited to announce that Otafest 2022 will have its own manga library. But we need your help to build it. So if you have any manga to spare from your collection, please consider learning more and donating here at otafest.com/manga.
The Oda Factor welcomes all who want to give their best performance and sing their hearts out. If you have what it takes to compete against Otafest's best vocalists, apply today at otafest.com/OdaFactor.
And this is your quick reminder that Otafest 2022 will be a 2-day event rather than our traditional 3-day event. In the interests of everyone's health, we'll be requiring that all attendees have masks and we'll be checking for vaccinations.
Man, so the manga library, that sounds pretty cool.
That sounds so much
Yeah.
fun.
It's a new project.
I wish I had all my old sumo bean bags. We could just leave some of those around for people to just curl up with some manga with.
Right.
Oh,
I
that
gave
would be
those away
comfy.
though, so I'm very sad I don't have that anymore.
I remember when there was such a big thing, those sumo beanbags.
Right?
I mean, I like beanbags, but I don't really know why they particularly got so much attention. Other than I know that the fabric was nicer and things like that. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's a beanbag, and I don't know. It just seems like a novelty furniture item, and they always will be. But they're still fun, I
definitely.
guess.
They're
Right.
fun as a short-term thing. Cause you can't even just set it and forget it. You gotta refluff it all the time, or it starts shifting while you're sitting in it, and yeah, it's just not awesome. But it's great for if you just want someone to sit down for a couple of hours in, a fairly customizable soft position for cups, right?
That's true.
Having a little manga library with one in every corner would just be so cozy.
Hey, Sumo, if you're still around and you want to sponsor us, by all means.
Absolutely, hell yeah. Honestly, beanbag chairs are amazing. When are we gonna get the beanbag gamer chairs? That's a new product, patent pending.
Oh, great.
Yep,
And-
we're gonna have beanbag gamer chairs.
Maybe
on
you should
wheels.
make them. Maybe this should be your idea.
It's
They're gonna
mine.
be called the Angelo chair.
Exactly. Perfect for gaming. Perfect for reading manga at Otafest.
The Manga Library, like I said, it's a new project. We're currently looking for donations to help fill it out. We are doing decently as it is on material. We do ask that, your submissions be of decent quality and cleanliness and things like that. We're not asking that you need to donate, entire volumes or sections or arcs or whatever. If you're missing something, even the regular libraries are sometimes missing things because people take things out. So
True facts.
we're not too worried about that.
I think I've got the first 6 volumes of Paradise Kiss, and that would be a perfect addition to it.
Yeah, we are just really looking, like I said, to fill it out. And then the point of it, other than, being able to chill and read manga, which is something that you could do, either online or at home. We understand that. But there's a lot of things at the convention you could chill or do at home. So that's not really the point, but really just to give people a quiet space amid the hustle and bustle. Because we'd have other spaces that are sort of like that, but not quite. For example, the Maid Cafe is timed entry, but it's not exactly quiet. You're still sort of actively doing something. It's not a passive event necessarily. but this is more of a like, you come in, you want to just take a break. Maybe it's an hour or two before the next panel that you wanted to go to, or you're waiting to meet up a friend somewhere, and you just want something, again, passive to do. Catch up on, some manga if there's like a series that maybe you're looking for and it's there, or like, I don't know, just rehash the old favorites that are probably going to be there. So lots of options for you.
Favorite things about manga, honestly, is often how different the art style is from the anime. Like,
absolutely.
If we take, for example, Attack on Titan, something that exceptionally popular, unbelievably popular. A lot of people haven't actually seen the manga. It's very sketchy. It's very rough. Whereas the animation, like when you look at like some of the production IG, some of the Mappa, some of the Studio Wit animation, it is some of the smoothest, most amazing animation you've ever seen. And the juxtaposition between the two is really interesting. On top of how like just the art style changes the way that you take in the story. It's pretty interesting. Mm-hmm. It's really enjoyable. So even if you're not regularly a manga reader, it might be worth stopping by the manga library just to look, see what some of your favorite series looked like before they were anime.
It's always nice. There's something about manga that's special and unique. And I'm not even just talking about having like a physical hard copy of a book in your hands, which is like sort of a nice feeling as it is, but just the way they tell the story without the additional aids of like animation, music,
Sound in general.
Exactly. And how they sort of convey the story is always, I don't know, it's an art form for a reason. I love graphic novels in general, so I'm probably, if I knew I had time, I would try to visit the manga library, maybe even for 15 minutes, just to be able to chill for a little bit.
Exactly. But you know who won't let us chill for even a minute? Goddamn Game Freak. They're giving us more Pokemon already. It's been like 3-4 weeks since Pokemon Legends Arceus came out and wowed everybody.
Yeah, it's been like less than 2 months, I believe.
And already we've got a Pokemon trailer for Gen 9, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet.
For a game that is supposedly releasing this year.
Yeah, we're going to have 2 Pokemon
Christmas
games
time this
year.
Yes. Looks really fun. Like it looks like they're following the Arceus format, because that's Arceus is considered to be a base game at this point, like a main series core game.
A mainline game?
Yes. Initial thoughts were weird that it was the trailer started off live action. It's just, I don't know. I was like part like are we doing a movie again?
Is this Detective Pikachu 2?
Yeah, I don't know what to make of Scarlet and Violet as a name. I like that they were going back to colors and something more like basic in concept. I immediately thought of Jesse and James. But I was like, I realized that that's just me being old. And that wasn't going to happen. But like, how can I not? Like on the trailer, you see like this lighting, and it's like literally Jesse and James's hair color,
Colors?
It's
yeah.
True. It's
like,
true.
If they made a cameo, I would not be upset.
Have they actually shown up in any of the Pokemon games other than Pokemon Yellow?
That is a good question.
And if they
do not
came
know.
back, would they be
I'll look
older?
it up. I'll look it up.
Nobody ever ages in the Pokemon universe. Let's be real.
I know.
But yeah, like
a little bit older.
I guess like the graphics still look a little scuffed, but at this point you just have to expect that. Like I don't think they're looking to improve it, just like the Switch isn't looking to improve its hardware. So, make what you will of that. But Arceus is fun. I played it a little bit at a friend's house. It's pretty much as fun as watching it, which I had a lot of good times doing so on like Let's Play channels and Twitch streams and stuff like that. The starters look very cute.
I love the starters.
They all have a lot of character to them, to be honest. Like they all have a cool little vibe that they each roll with. I know people really love the duck already. I don't really vibe too much with the cat.
Really?
Or whatever.
I do. That one's
That's
my
fun.
pick.
That's good. And then there's little bubble bobble fire dragon, which I can't tell which one I like more. Like the duck is nice in sort of classic design, but like I love the dopiness almost of the fire lizard.
Oh my god. Fuecoco is super, super derpy looking. And
But like in an endearing way.
Jay, the way that he mentioned that it looks like Bubble Bobble, I actually had to look up. I had to look up to compare for sure. Because when I looked at him and Jay said that, I was like immediately like, wait, yes, that's literally the same character. But
I like
Bub doesn't have a snoot. He doesn't have the bottom teeth. He does have the exact same top tooth. And his eyes were much larger.
They basically what I'm trying to say is that the Firestarter looks like he jumped out of the 80s or 90s sort of, game design.
That's fair. And you're right.
I'm about it. I'm about it. I love him. I don't know if I'd choose him necessarily until I have more information a little bit, because I'm a little bit like that. But
with
initial impressions, it being between the duck and the lizard.
I really didn't like Fuecoco at first, but the way that you mentioned that, it actually makes me look at him in a different way.
Right?
And
he's got that character.
I can appreciate it. I can appreciate the vibes. I'm actually all about Sprigatito, the cat, the fire cat,
the grass cat.
Grass cat.
Same.
Because, good God, that is just such a cute Pokemon. And Quaxley, the duck, he's got slicked back blue hair and blue feet. I love it.
The hair almost looks like he's wearing a Mario cap. Almost. Just a little bit from a distance.
Yeah. It's these starters are they're really some strong starters, let's be real here.
They have the makings of a very classic design, which I'm all for, because I think the last few generations I've seen it, I couldn't possibly recall one, but these designs are classic enough where it's like, you know what? Yeah, they actually stand out more from most of the new starters that like I could actually recall them if you asked me about them.
Yeah, they stand out. They feel like Pokemon. They just got that feeling. I feel like between the three of them, Fuecoco, the fire crocodile one, actually doesn't have that much of a Pokemon feel. And because Jay said it, that explains it, because it feels pre-Pokemon. It feels like an 80s arcade game as opposed to like a Pokemon character.
It feels like I have seen some old beta art for Pokemon pre-Gen 1, and he looks like he comes from a slightly different era, which is like, it's interesting. At least like I said, he stands out a little bit more because of that, and he has a different character vibe. The top of his face sort of looks like an apple too, which has been done before. We have like an apple pie Pokemon.
This isn't a fire crocodile. This is an apple Pokemon.
That's hilarious. I didn't even see that until you pointed that out.
The apple that bites back.
So two things real quick. One is that going back to Jesse and James, they have been in Pokemon Yellow, Let's Go Pikachu, and Let's Go Eevee, and then some side games like Puzzle League, Pokemon Go, Masters EX. I don't actually know what Masters EX, but anyways, they have been in some other games.
Online or phone game.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
And then regarding the trailer stuff, it looks like, and based off the name as well, of like the starters, like Sprigatito, Fuecoco. I don't know Quaxley necessarily, but game looks like it takes sort of place in a Mediterranean and sort of Spanish location. Lots of, there's a bit of ocean. I remember seeing the buildings were sort of European in design.
There were some palm trees there. It was very tropical feel. I'm here for it. I think it's going to be a fun location. Aesthetics of what I saw in the trailer. The one thing that I saw in the trailer, though, it was really distracting. I know we've railed about Pokemon graphics in the past. It's not a new argument. It's a very old argument that it feels like Pokemon graphics have not progressed. And I was immediately brought out of it in the trailer when I saw like there's no anti-aliasing. Everything looked so jittery. Like in the past, their graphic style, their art style has led with aesthetic elements that weren't as affected by it, but there were like a lot of like rails, a lot of grates, a lot of like tiling, where the lack of anti-aliasing just, it was really noticeable and jarring. And there was one scene with some windmills where the foreground windmill perfectly fine, looked fine. But then there were like 3 more windmills in the background, and they were moving at like 3 frames per second. And because they were closer to the center of the screen, it was like, wait a minute. I noticed those before I noticed the one that actually looks good.
It's very scuffed. Like we talked about really briefly in Arceus, but like based on distance, if an object is further off in the distance, the animation changes, and they essentially switch to keyframe animation. So it's sort of like, if something's running at 30 frames per second, you might have 6 frames of keyframe, which is, for people who don't know what keyframe is, sort of like an essential item of animation within the whole, clip of animation. So there was times where you'd have like a Pokemon off in the distance. Maybe it's like a flying Pokemon, and if they were close to you, they'd be they'd have full wing movement, and you see the sort of flying smoothly-ish around, like close around you. But if they were off in the distance, it was literally 3 animations. It was wing up, wing down, and wing somewhere in the middle. And it would just repeat like that, and you'd be like, oh, that's not good.
There were a
that
couple
thing's
of
gonna
shots,
fall out of the sky like that.
Yeah, there were a couple of shots that had that, the camera was panning faster, but the FPS wasn't good enough for it to look good. So I was just like,
that's actually most of the trailer, to be honest. But they have time. Same gripe though I had before as Arceus, which is like, why not just give it another full year or whatever of like development? Like Pokemon, you're a huge franchise.
We're not going to forget about you.
You don't have to Assassin's Creed yourself, essentially, right? Like you don't have to release something every year. I'd rather you release something every like 4 years. I don't know how old Sword and Shield is now. I'm gonna look that up because it feels like it hasn't been that long, but maybe it's already been 4 years and I'm, talking out my ass. But technically considering that Sword and Shield is a mainline game and Arceus is a mainline game, and Arceus was released, like a little bit over a month ago, it is weird. 2019, November 15th, 2019 was Sword and Shield. So that's only 3 years. 3 years. Strange, but okay.
You know what? If you were looking at like mainline games, time between them, that's fair. But when we literally had Pokemon Arceus this year, it feels like it's just too soon. It really does. Like the fact that Sword and Shield was 2019, Pokemon Arceus, it felt like, you know what? It hasn't been too long, but it felt right. It felt good. Good stuff. Now that we have Pokemon Arceus, and then we're going straight to Pokemon Scarlet and Violet this winter. It's like, hold on, slow down, guys. Maybe program yourself a little anti-aliasing filter, okay? Please.
Yeah.
The lack of anti-aliasing was pretty jarring, I gotta say.
Like, it doesn't have to be strong anti-aliasing, or maybe just take out the most jarring bits of models. And since you're already not going for like super detailed graphics, turn them into a texture instead. A pre-anti-alias texture instead of its own model that needs the anti-aliasing. Let's just take a step back. You could do it, Game Freak. I believe in you.
At the end of the day, I just hope it is as fun. Like Sword and Shield apparently was pretty fun. I didn't really play or follow it so much, but Arceus I did, and people not just because it was a new style of play, but obviously they're sort of trending in a direction between probably those two in general. And yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, gameplay rules the roost, even if graphics are, pretty important.
Exactly. You know what I just realized?
When
I said that there was a lot of time between Pokemon Sword and Shield and Arceus, I completely forgot that Brilliant Diamond and Pearl existed.
Oh?
I completely forgot they existed. And when I remember their existence, I'm suddenly brought back to like, no, Arceus was too soon between Pokemon games. What the hell? Oh my
Yeah.
god.
Talking,
I
you
don't
know
really
what?
pay attention to the timelines there, I guess, because Pokemon just seems like it's a very consistent, ever-present thing. Like if they're not
do their
making a
thing, for
mobile
sure.
game for it, they're making another mainline game for it, and I just feel like I get lost in it all. It's never slowed down, and it never speeds up either.
But I feel like the critical reception of Brilliant Diamond and Pearl, a lot of people were like, wow, you didn't really do much to this.
Right.
But otherwise, like, people liked Sword and Shield, people liked Arceus. The only legitimate argument that I heard about either of them that wasn't about graphics was that, oh, it's not hard enough. And the reality is, Pokemon games have never been hard. There's legitimately...
They used to be hard.
not-
They used to be decently hard, actually, but now it's been watered down more and more because there's a lot of little mechanics that help. But it doesn't have to be hard. It's a game. It's a game for kids.
That's the thing.
okay?
It's a game for kids. It's not intended to be
Yeah.
hard. There is no Dark Souls of Pokemon. There is... It doesn't
there,
happen.
No, there are. They're just called mods and challenges and stuff like Nuzlocke and stuff like that. But we can talk about actual Dark Souls content.
We can.
And you can talk about a game that has anti-aliasing in it.
So Elden Ring just came out a few days ago. And Dio and I have been playing with it. It's actually, for both of us, the first Souls game that we've played. It is our entry to the Soulsborne series, quite frankly.
I didn't know that you guys had never played that.
I haven't either.
Weird. Oh.
And so, quite frankly, like, I've watched playthroughs. I've not been like completely sheltered from Souls games before. So I did know what I was getting myself into. I had some inkling of what I was getting myself into. And quite frankly, me and Dio are enjoying it quite a bit. One thing that I didn't realize, well, personally, is that there is a quite strong multiplayer component if you want there to be.
If you want there to be?
So for my first like 4 hours of the game, I was going completely solo, just having fun, fighting dudes, dying to dudes, exploring, and Dio had been kind of doing the same, except she'd been going almost completely multiplayer with a couple of our friends as well. The one problem that she had is that the friends she was playing with were seasoned Soulsborne veterans. And so she was actually getting frustrated. They were kind of like leaving her behind. She couldn't keep up with them. And so me and Dio played multiplayer last night. And we just had a blast. We were having a good time. We were exploring. Everything was new to us. We both sucked. And for both of us, we're about 7 hours into the game now. Neither of us have actually beaten a boss yet. So this is one thing that I would actually say is nice about Elden Ring. Compared to previous, my experience watching other people play some like the Dark Souls or Bloodborne is that sometimes there will be like an area boss where it seems like you cannot progress past that area if you do not beat that boss. So if you quite frankly suck, the only option is to get good. That is the only way forward for you. Whereas so far with Elden Ring, I'm going to be very vague about this as to keep spoilers to a minimum.
Thank you.
But right away in the first area, you walk out the door and you see this giant knight on horseback. And I've watched one streamer actually be able to take this dude out. But they're I wouldn't want to say optional, but you can just walk around them, as it were. You can sneak on the outside of them and just let them be, come back later. And there's other instances in the game where there's a day-night cycle, and so there might be a boss in one area at one part of the day. There might not be. You can walk into an area, and there is like a dragon that swoops down. And so it's like, okay, I am not prepared yet. But it always feels like so far in 7 hours that if you legitimately do not feel like you are prepared for this boss, you do not have to bang your head against them hour after hour until you just get good and finally do it or give up.
How do you feel about the idea that so I have not watched too much Elden Ring content because I'm going to play it for myself eventually, and I try not to get
Spoil
into it too
yourself.
much.
Yeah,
It's
me
like
too.
not even spoilers necessarily, but like I like it. Like I don't care about the story spoilers. I almost care more about the gameplay spoilers because that's sort of like the experience becomes more pure versus the actual, like the storytelling is part of it. But
yeah, no, you want
it's
to
a little all over the
experience it
place.
your first time. Like it's your
Exactly.
experience of it. Exactly.
But-
That's kind of how I feel.
Like with the difficulty that you're talking about and the first time that you've played a Souls game, how do you feel knowing that this is supposedly one of the easier or slash more accessible Souls games, Angelo?
I love it.
All right,
No, like I'm legitimately having fun.
that's good.
Because like for me it would be frustrating. It would be frustrating if I walked out that door and the entire game was locked away from me until I beat Horseboy to a pulp. Like if that happened, I probably would have stopped playing before the 2-hour period and refunded
Fair.
it on Steam. Instead, I'm legitimately like I'm having fun. I'm being able to play with the mechanics. Me and Dio found an area with some regular mobs that are actually powerful enough to feel like bosses. And when both of us teamed up and took one of these things down, we felt amazing. It felt really good. Like as a noob to the genre, as a noob to the franchise, I feel like while it's not holding my hand, it's not telling me to get good. It's being like, okay, you can't beat this yet. Go somewhere else. Have fun a different way. Go explore. Get comfortable with the controls. And,
All right, what are you playing? What you're playing on PC?
I'm playing on PC. Yes. And
The
so
most scuffed version of the game.
it is the most scuffed version from what I hear. And both me and Dio have been having some problems.
Like what?
At first, my biggest problem was that my controller, I use a PS4 controller on PC. It works flawlessly for the game, except at first it was randomly turning off, and I was like, what the hell's going on? Turned out I had a shitty USB cable for it. But, so aside from that, the controls, my biggest issue is that it uses R1 and 2 and L1 and 2 for most of your actions. I actually don't like that. I want to be hitting the face buttons for like attacks and things. And
Yeah.
that's just not how the game is made.
Interesting.
This is a game that literally uses every button on the controller.
Oh boy.
You are using both joysticks. You are using the D-pad. You are using the face buttons. You're using L1, L2, R1, R2, L3, R3, clicking the joystick in. You're using both the start button and the select button.
Oh, wow.
The only button on my PlayStation controller that is not being used is the PlayStation button, which brings up Steam Big Picture mode for me, and the touchpad. That is the only unused button on the entire controller. And because of that, like, it sometimes feels intimidating. Like I was saying, it takes a while to just get used to the controls. And the other thing that I found is that it is a game that punishes button mashing. If you are mashing your buttons, and while I don't mean just like mashing any button trying to get something to happen, I mean if you intend to roll, if you button mash the roll button, it's punishing you for it. And because the way that it works is that you will, if you're in the middle of another animation, it might accept the input depending on where in the animation you are. If you're close to the end of the animation, it might accept that. So great. The problem is it's not exactly intuitive when it's taking the input. So if you say you want to roll once to dodge an enemy's move, and you want to roll once because you want to counterattack immediately, if you button mash the roll button because you're not rolling soon enough, you might find that after your first roll, you're rolling again because it accepted the second or third or 10th input that you were button mashing. So you have to make sure that you are not mashing your buttons.
Well,
You have
that
to
does
be.
it. I can't play this
think-
game.
I think so it's definitely more prevalent in sort of, I want to say, Japanese action RPG type games, because you can say the same for games like Monster Hunter, for example, where depending, especially on the weapon style that you play with, it'll eat certain inputs, or it'll sort of, you have to be very precise, like timing wise, or like you activate certain stances or modes of combat.
Yeah.
So I think it's not, it's something that new that you're experiencing, but I also think it's something that's actually fairly common. I think Sekiro is a little bit like that.
Sekiro is made by From Software. It's basically considered as part of the Soulsborne series.
Yeah, so I'm just saying, like, games are similar in that respect.
Exactly.
I have some friends that speed run or even play like randomizers for Dark Souls games, Soulsborne games in general. And yeah, like it's not it's not something where you're going to try and go in there randomly. You need to be sort of as controlled in combat as one should be.
Exactly.
So I think it's a good concept, honestly.
I don't hate it. I don't hate that I'm not supposed to be button mashing, because, like, quite frankly, when I'm playing something like Street Fighter, or this isn't actually going to help my argument, because you're not supposed to be button mashing in fighters either.
No,
But I do
I was
anyway.
gonna say, I'm like,
I do anyway. But when I'm playing like a
skill
fighting
games.
game, I am like manhandling the controller, twisting it, mashing every single button like 60 times per second,
Jesus.
you know?
Same.
And
Same.
obviously it doesn't work out for me. But that's the way that I want to play these like high intense action games. Like, oh my God, everything is happening so fast. I
it's-
got to hit every
it-
button as fast as possible. No,
it's interesting.
It's the game is telling you to just slow down, take your time.
It's interesting
Press
that you
the
admit
buttons
to
with
that.
intention.
Because, like, yeah, fighting games are supposed to actually be fairly methodical in their execution. Like, it's one thing to know what moves your character can do. It's another thing to be able to know how they chain into each other, how they cancel certain animations, and sort of the surgical precision. Like, I won't say that I never mash, because that's just not true. Gamers mash. But it behooves you to not do so in
Yes.
most fighting games or action RPGs in
I
general.
think
Like,
the difference for me, the feeling, is that in fighting games, it doesn't feel like they eat the inputs, whereas in
it totally does. But
maybe
I
I'm
don't
using
think,
the word wrong. I feel like fighting games, when I make the input, it will accept whatever input that I'm currently putting in. Whereas
it's a little bit more forgiving, for sure.
in Elden Ring, the inputs are buffered. Like, it keeps a score of your inputs, and it's like, yes, I am going to put them in that order. It's not that you're wrong, Jay. You're entirely right. It's the game telling you to slow down, hit
Yeah.
buttons with intention.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think that sort of makes people probably a better gamer in most respects, honestly.
Probably.
Probably.
I don't really care, at the end of the day, how people really want to play their games. If you want to go super easy mode and, play it in low difficulties and button mash, by all means. But I think of gaming as like a skill in itself, and you develop certain things, certain talents for, figuring things out, or the input controls. So and each game has something for you to learn. So all I know is that, for instance, when it comes to Pokemon, all it's done is take up the very limited amount of memory I have in my brain, and it's just stuffed it full of random characters and moves and stuff, for example.
Quite frankly, if their name isn't in a rap, I'm not going to bother remembering the Pokemon.
How rude. I thought you said you loved your Duck Boy. And your
Yeah, that's
cat.
why I called him Duck
and
Boy
Leaf
instead
Cat.
of his actual name.
Quaxley?
It took me like a solid minute to remember Totodile's name when I was complaining how we have another crocodile Pokemon that looks infinitely worse than the
True.
original crocodile Pokemon.
When you were talking about it in the when the preamble leading up to us actually recording, I could hear the gears grinding a little bit.
Yeah, that's because there ain't no Totodile rap, I'm telling you what.
They should be.
There
I
should be a
kind of-
Totodile rap.
Yeah.
I
There's a
kind
Demon
lot of-
Dice, get on it. We need a Totodile
There's a lot of shall we say practices from the days of old that they should have kept up with. One of them being the poker rap.
Yes. I'm pretty sure that someone did do a fan poker rap using a lot of the new Pokemon as well, but ain't no one got time for that.
Enough about the games. It's time to talk about an anime. An anime that Nancy watched.
An anime that's 3D. Does anyone remember a while ago when we watched the new Ghost in the Shell done by Studio Sola?
Yeah.
Same
Okay.
studio came out with Blade Runner Black Lotus recently, and all the right people were involved in the making of this.
Nice. Okay.
So Aramaki was in this, Kamiyama, Shinichiro Watanabe.
Oh
They were
my
all
God.
involved, and it shows. It really shows. To me, it keeps the atmosphere and like the visual styling of Blade Runner very much alive. Like the actual score that plays is very 100% Blade Runner. They did a really good job staying true to that, but it's punctuated by more like R&B opening and ending themes. And one of my favorite singers actually is the one who did the opening theme, Alessia Cara, who
Oh.
is, I believe, from Toronto, I think. But anyway,
Damn.
so she's actually in the show for a couple episodes, which is even more interesting. But anyway,
Brampton.
sorry?
Brampton, Ontario.
Brampton, Ontario, my bad.
I guess it's sort of GTA-ish, maybe.
Anyway,
Ish.
it was really well done because they had a working framework to go off of. Blade Runner has a very iconic musical style, visual style. They
Established
took all
universe,
of that.
right?
Very established universe, but also just very established styling. It's like working within the framework of like an established long-running manga. It has a style to it. And it was good. It also fell into a bunch of, as I was watching, anime tropes, which I'm not sure is good or bad. It just is something I noticed. But it appears to fall. It falls like in the timeline of the universe. I think it falls after actually, no. I never did establish if it fell before or after the second movie, but it definitely falls
Right.
after the first movie.
All right. Because
And
there
I-
was the other Blade Runner anime OVA that I
20
believe fell
2045?
before the original movie in the timeline.
Right.
What was that? Was it called Blade Runner: The Fall or something, or was it Blade Runner 2040 something?
I think there was a. Are you thinking
Was
of
it not
Blackout?
2049?
Blackout. That's it.
Blackout 2022?
That's the one.
Yeah.
And that was an Blade Runner OVA that I only heard great things
Oh,
about.
yeah.
So Watanabe directed that one too.
Exactly. I'm actually glad that you're commenting on this because it's been something that's been on my radar for quite a while. Every now and then, like every other week, I see it's like, oh, there's another episode of that Blade Runner Black Lotus out. I should start watching that. I should give it a try, see what's going on. And now that I've got your blessing on it, I really, really should check out what's going on.
Oh, please do. I want to hear your thoughts on it because, so what I find interesting particularly about this, and I said this last time when we talked about Blackout, Blade Runner is a North American, it's a very North American made themed franchise, despite the fact that there's a lot of reference to, eating late night ramen at a stall. Like that happens in the original movie. But it was a very Hollywood film. It's a very North American franchise. Taking that and making an animated, 3D animated anime essentially of it was very interesting. You see it mostly in the mocap. You see it somewhat in the writing, and you definitely see it in the choreographed fight scenes, which are very good.
I was going to say,
That's really good to hear.
I haven't seen too much of it the actual animation of it, but I assume it's pretty good. I assume that it was mocap because there are what looks like some pretty strong action scenes. And honestly, you can do that without mocap, but most places that they can afford to do it with mocap would rather do it with mocap. Just
That's
tends
the
to
thing.
look better.
These days, mocap is cheaper than traditional animation.
Probably.
Yeah.
Like, if you're
it's
doing
definitely
3D,
easier.
If you doing the mocap, like, it's legitimately, it takes a lot of investment. It takes a lot of upfront investment. But once you've got that, you can start banging out animations like day after day, something new. You can get animations done as fast as you can get people to act them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously,
So-
there's more to go into it than that, but
Yeah.
compared
But
to
I will
hand by hand, like posing.
I will say that the fight scenes were mocapped amazingly. I have a couple of extra thoughts on it though, and I want to hear what Angelo thinks because I don't want to say anything to like color your perception of it.
Okay.
So I'll save those for another time.
Can I say something just like real quick about sort of the screen caps I'm looking through, which is like, admittedly not having seen a single second of the actual animation, but only having seen like, screen caps, still frames. It has a very, I don't know if I love the stylization of this style, like of the art style, I guess. And I can't really put my finger on it. It feels like
Part of
I
me
don't know.
So part of me realizes that I have been spoiled by watching Arcane. The animation in that was sincerely the toppest of notch that I have ever seen of that style of animation.
Arcane was movie
going-
quality animation.
Going from Arcane to this show is kind of doing your brain a disservice because now you've been spoiled and now you're kind of going back to a style that's a lot more simplistic.
Yeah,
And-
I just don't love like the character design that much. I feel like is the main thing.
Yeah, I mean,
From
I
what
don't
I've
disagree
seen.
there, but I mean,
Yeah.
that wasn't what I loved about it, I guess. It was more about what it adds to the Blade Runner world.
Oh, and
So-
I'm sure like it draws you in once you're actually into the show and you don't really think about it as much. But again, I'm just looking off like still frames, and that's not really fair, to be completely honest. It's just that the character design throws it off a little bit, and like the lighting choices they seem to use are not something I think of when I think of a Blade Runner
series.
universe a little bit.
The lighting
Some
is what
shots use
actually
really light,
stands out to
like
me.
yeah, like it's some really soft light sometimes, which doesn't almost throws me off a little bit. I know different scenes obviously require different lighting and whatnot. It's just I don't know. I like the background. I like a lot of the background stuff. Some of it reminds me for some reason of like Final Fantasy VII.
One thing that that I'm seeing from the frames that Jay's pulling up, if you go back to the like original Blade Runner and even the newer one, Blade Runner 2049 was it, I believe?
Yeah.
The lighting in both of those movies is so unique that it's part of the style on its own.
Oh,
Like
absolutely.
you've got all of the cyberpunk lighting, the rain lighting, where sometimes everything's shiny, sometimes everything's reflective, and sometimes you've got like the purple glare. Sometimes you've got that yellow filter going over everything.
Yep.
And from the screenshots that Jay's pulling up, I don't really see that. I don't really see that artistic flair where every single frame of the movie could be like its own desktop wallpaper. if you
Yeah.
will.
You see it a lot
I-
more in outdoor shots and a lot more of this story happens indoor, I would say.
I
And
guess
yeah,
It's basically
you're right.
when they want to wow you, they wow you, but when they want you to pay attention to the words, they like tone it down. Is that what you're
Yeah.
saying?
Sort
I
of.
mean, everything I can see about it sort of, I guess all the still frames make me feel like I'm looking at a video game cutscene more than what I am looking for in a series. And I can't tell you why. It's just that's the association my brain is making. And you could be like, well, what is a video game cutscene? But there's a series of animations to tell. It's like I don't know what to tell. I don't know what to tell you. I'm just saying that in this very limited exposure, my brain says the quality of it looks like a video game cutscene more than what I would expect in a full series, standalone series. I don't know why.
To me, it looks fine for a 3D series. Like if we're working on a scale where X-Arm is 0 on the scale and Arcane is like 10 on the scale.
0?
This
I
looks
think
like...
you mean -2.
No.
Only 2.
Because this is the thing. On that scale, I would put something like Reboot at like a 2 or a 3. I would put Donkey Kong Country at a solid 4. Arcane is 10, keep in mind. I would say that this would be a solid 7 on that kind of scale.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm cooler than you, and I think it's a 5 to a 6.
The animation to me is really not that bad. Again, I'm framing it from having recently watched Arcane and coming back to this. And it's very jarring because it's just not where I thought it would be.
When we're looking at stills, we're not seeing what the actual animation looks like.
It's not even about the animation part so much as I've already said it. Once you're watching it, you probably just don't think about it or notice it anymore because you're actually being pulled into the story and its universe. It's just isolating the experience is not doing it a great service, I think.
Decent, consistent 3D animation is like that, where as long as it's not bad enough to pull you out, like something like X-Arm would be, as long as it's not that bad, you can vibe with it. Like Reboot, for example, it was no artistic masterpiece when you look at it frame by frame. But when it's self-consistent, it looks good enough to pass.
Well, also day and age kind of thing.
Yeah.
Of course. I mean, let's be real. Reboot was the Arcane of its time as far as 3D graphics go.
Oh, yeah.
And considering that they made a fairly long-running story out of it, that's a lot of money probably back in the day. I wonder how much their overall cost was when I think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Reboot was revolutionary.
Not to mention that it was also pretty much a Canadian series and a Canadian-only series. A lot of Americans don't actually know about it.
Yes.
So it didn't have that many eyes on it. It probably didn't make that much return in terms of, profit versus production, but
the interesting thing is Reboot was it was a Canadian company based out of Vancouver, Mainframe Entertainment. And the first season was actually bankrolled by, I want to say Cartoon Network, but it was an American company. It was an American
Interesting.
company. Every subsequent season was bankrolled by YTV.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's
YTV
crazy.
being youth television out of Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
But anyways.
Anyway.
But I think it's probably fine, even judging by the screen caps, the screenshots. I can't judge the animation by that because it's a static image, but it looks decent. It looks
probably
good
okay.
enough.
It's probably closer to a 6 or 7 than it is a 5, but I don't know.
Give it an honest watch and let me know, because I have some thoughts and I can't share them because they will spoil things.
Very fair.
There's a lot of things.
Yeah. Anyway, I was very happy to have that done this weekend, actually. I think that was the one thing that I did the most productivity on this weekend was watching the new Blade Runner.
Let's go.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why you need more days on the weekend.
I do, so I can watch more things.
Yeah.
Watching anime is actually a very time-intensive thing.
It really is. God, I miss back when I was in high school and college where I could bang out a goddamn season of something every day.
Wow. I was never that good at it.
I was going crazy back then. Like the first
prime
50
weeb
episodes
days.
thing of Full Metal Alchemist, the non-Brotherhood one, I think I watched that in 2 days. And then when I was a working adult watching Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, it took me, I think, 3 or 4 weeks to get through it all.
Wow.
Prime weeb days.
There There were
I
some
stayed up till
weekends,
5 in the morning, played Minecraft.
There were some Saturdays where I would bang out 2 12-episode series in a single day.
Oh god, dude.
My god. Wait, you're playing Minecraft? What are you making now?
What do you mean, what am I making? Mistakes
okay, sorry.
are what I'm
What
making.
are you working on these days?
Oh, what am I working on? Just completing some little projects. For the first time ever, I'm part of a community server. Not to say that Angelo doesn't have a community server that I play on, but like this one it's got like 50 or 60 people on it.
God damn, that's a lot.
It's the first time I've ever joined one of those, and they have some mods. I don't always love mods, but they're pretty low key, so I sort of can live with them. And it's been really fun. Basically, they've set up all these towns, like they're pre-built. Like the server admin essentially pre-built these town setups, like where there's plots. And one of the mods is that you basically, using this golden shovel, you can basically claim a piece of land. And once you claim a piece of land, nobody, unless you give them permissions manually in your claim process, no one can access things. So they can go in and outside your house, but they couldn't open your chests, and they can't like screw around with stuff, which is kind of nice, right? And obviously sort of essential in a 30+ person server, or even a 10+ person server probably. Not that people are dicks about it. It's actually a very chill community that I've been part of for a little bit, but it's very fun. I've just been working on small projects. We just killed the Ender Dragon this weekend. The server's only been around for about 4 weeks, maybe.
Wow.
Not bad.
We could probably have killed the dragon earlier, but like part of it is just we're trying to chill vibe. Like there are some people who are very like into the whole redstone thing, and they're into making a lot of progress in the game, whereas I'm more of like a chill builder, and more of us are sort of chill and relaxed builders. But, you know, when we have something that we want to do that's like bigger event server wise, then, you know, everyone's willing to accommodate like, you know, different play styles, different activity levels, that kind of thing. So it's really nice. The thing that I was like sort of doing over this last couple of the last day really, because we beat the Ender Dragon, which meant we have access to the end, which means you can go to end cities, and then you can pick up something called elytra, which are like wings, gliding wings that you can use. So I've been in the overworld building what I call base jump towers, which is essentially like a way to get you up to the top of the height limit of the overworld really, really quick. So you can have like a platform, and if you have your wings on you, you can start jumping off and gliding to different areas. Nice. It's a really cinematic experience, really fun. It's probably one of my most favorite little projects I've done. But otherwise, I have other projects that I've been procrastinating on in the game, just like real life. So that's always great.
Just like real life.
Yep. And part of the reason why I stayed up till 5 in the morning yesterday playing.
Oh my god! Nice.
Wasn't even anime.
Wasn't even anime. But yeah, so that's my little gamer update. Everyone playing, oh yeah, we were talking about the Scarlet Violet, or we got the Elden Ring, or we got a new animated series, and I'm like, I'm playing 15-year-old game. Is it 15 or is it 20? I don't remember. It's 15 probably.
It's old. It's pretty old.
I want it to be closer to 15. It's not 20 years old. It came out when I was in college.
You want it to be.
You want it to be.
It's
the
it's better. It's better than that.
It's
10 years old. It's only 11 years old ish.
No, that
November
would have been
18.
full release.
November 18 of 2011. Thank God. Okay.
That would have been full release. The original in-depth version came out 2007, 2008, somewhere around there.
True.
Really quick,
yes,
though.
because I have the beta release, so it would have been like earliest 2016, but maybe 2018, not 2016, 2006 or 2007. My God.
There you go. I was like, that's a decade off.
Yeah, it is.
Anyways. Okay. But really quick, though, I've played a reasonably new game called Life is Strange: True Colors. And it is basically if you took an entire season of anime, made it into a game, and you have to make choices in it, and there's a lot of feelings.
Nice. Is that the one with the two brothers?
No, it's
No?
two
Oh, so
siblings,
there's a
sister and a
new
brother.
one. There's a new one. Okay.
But it is, holy cow, I was not ready for the feelings that were present in this game. I was not. And maybe it hits me a little bit harder because my parents immigrated, and there's a lot of stuff in there that like hints towards family because it's a pair of siblings without parents. But it's just like, my little heart. I cried a lot while streaming this game. It hit me very unexpectedly.
Aw. The Life is Strange games have always been good at like eliciting emotions.
This one in particular
They're really
is
good at telling the stories.
Yeah, this one in particular is really good. Highly recommend.
It's good.
Nice.
I don't do new things. I only do old things. That's
You are
okay.
the definition of a hipster.
You are the old Jay.
It's true. The most recent thing I've been watching regularly is QI. And I put that on the background. QI is a British panel show about facts.
About
It doesn't
is
sound
the
that
most
now that I
British
say it that way, it doesn't
sounding
sound
thing
fun. It's more fun than it sounds. It's got
That is
I've
the
seen
most
clips
British
from it.
sounding thing ever.
yeah.
I've seen clips of it. I know
yeah,
it's
It's
funny.
mostly it's mostly
QI is a show about facts, you see.
but the panelists are all comedians. So
Oh my God.
it's a little better than that.
No, British comedians are on another level.
I recommend it. You can find playlists on YouTube, and I'm working through the entire playlist, and that's usually my background noise right now when I'm not working on things. When I'm playing, when I'm working on things, it's music. I can't really focus, obviously, when I'm working, so it has to be music. But yeah, that's the thing.
Nice.
Anyways. Thank you all for listening. Please check out the Manga Library donation website, which is otafest.com/manga. Very, very easy to follow. Help us out
And
with
register for
providing the chill vibes.
Otafactor at
Yes.
otafest.com/Otafactor.
Exactly. And we will catch you next time. Thank you so much for listening.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Fare thee well.